Today we've got our esteemed colleague Fabio Damiano talking to us from his what is current research in AI. So just a reminder, please mute yourselves, and if you have any questions for Fabio after the talk, please either ask him in person or put it in the chat. I'll monitor the chat. And for anybody who who's not here, or wants to revisit the talk or any of our lunchtime seminar talks, please feel free to go onto the cfpr.ue.ac.uk website and find the lunchtime seminars. They're all on there for now. But thank you all for coming, and over to you, Fabio.
Thank you, Frank. I'm sorry about that. Right bar, probably I'm able to remove it like that at least. Yeah, that's better. But there will be no content top right, so no problem. I'm basically, because today's topic is so enormous and I want it to be perfectly in time, so I recorded a video that will stop exactly when is the time to stop. And I will be talking about three things mainly. One would be text-to-text generation. Second one would be text-to-image, and then I will show you some practical examples. I think it's a very important topic, AI for design and architecture. But normally you either look at how it works, like practically, or it's very difficult to see how the machine works from behind. But it's absolutely important because otherwise you don't understand it. So the first 5 minutes plus 5 minutes will be slightly boring, possibly, because it's how it works in practical terms. So GPT stands for generative, because it creates new things. So it's not copy-paste, it's in some way creative. P, because it's pre-trained, we'll talk about it, and transformer is the architecture that is behind. So the first part, when you're talking about text-to-text, is something that is called LLM. Is large language models. It means that basically and that's why it's pre-trained, they scraped the internet a few years ago, and they got all they could from there. So if you look at the size of it, is impressive, and it tells you something about how it's speeding up. So it started with 100 million words. After a few months, it was 300 million, and then it reached billions, and then billion tokens. I will talk to you about tokens soon. And then it's trillion. And now it's basically when you ask GPT-4 about the size of it, and the answer is unknown, because he has been trained on an enormous amount of data. And also now it's able to go and surf the internet. So before it was pre-trained, now it is still pre-trained, but it knows what time is it, for instance, because it's able to go to the internet. The first part of it is called tokenization. So if you want to know how it works, because it's a computer, it will convert any word into numbers. So there's no words. There are no words. There are numbers. And numbers are good because you can try and check if there are patterns of numbers, if there are statistical things that are happening with numbers. A token basically is normally the 75% of a word. So it's not an entire word. And it's useful, for instance, to understand something like, the past in English is like, well, I don't have a verb in mind, but you know that you just add ed and it works. And then you have lines, which is embedding. So you have multiple vectors, which basically is 1D. So things that are closer in terms of meaning, they go closer. Things that are far from, they go far. But it's a system that doesn't have like 3D. Now you're looking at 3D, but 3D doesn't make anything. It's hundreds of thousands of dimensions. So when you are talking, for instance, of an apple, the apple is going with the computer if in the same sentence you have, for instance, Steve Jobs, or if you have Microsoft. But if you have like cinnamon, it will be probably a different context, and that context will be a cake. And in this case, if I'm asking it, there are several contexts. And this is the ability of a neural network It's basically to work with small parts, like the brain works, neurons, that they will talk to all of the others, and they will try then to reduce and simplify the amount of information. The other part is to expand. Basically, a text system just shrinks to the very barely minimum to understand the inner depth of what you're saying, and then to expand it. And it goes like if it was a kind of a car wash on many. So he's the kind of, I, I, I can dub him. I can dub him. What is showing, like if it was Italian, is that you have an enormous amount of pixels and you reduce it to 3 letters, cat. And that happened in 2012. It was a game changer because it looks like the system is able to understand a meaning and to do it independently. So if you think about images, which is our world, that's the second part, the second 5 minutes. It's again all numbers, and what you can do is just statistical clusters of numbers. For instance, here, a bunch of zeros will be no meaning, but when it changes very strongly from a small number to a high number, probably that's a border. And you don't have to teach him that that is a border, or it's very likely that is a border, because it will just do it millions of times. This is called a convolutional kernel. You basically take a very small thing that is comparable to a token, because if you analyze one pixel, that pixel won't tell you anything. If you analyze an entire image is too big, is too slow. So what you want to do is to analyze very small fractions. I've done a test with that's Rhino and Grasshopper. To apply a matrix of number to an image, and you start seeing things like you can blur it, or you can find contours, and this is done randomly. So no one is coding it. There's a powerful, enormously powerful tool that's just going randomly, millions of times, and then it will extract meaning from that. It started with medical things to detect anomalies. So you don't want the system to tell you what you already know. You want the system to tell you something you don't know yet. And it's done by recursively analyzing data. So these are tons of things. This was an experiment, probably you remember that, about understanding what was the tool the robot was using, if it was a brush or a pencil or a pen. I've trained it with many, many images. And it's incredible, if you think about it, that it's just able to understand what a brush is. And it doesn't matter if it's a big brush or a small brush. Now we are talking about encoders. So basically what happened, you give an image, that image is shrunk exactly like the desk, and it goes in the barely minimum place. In the barely minimum place, you can then expand it again. So you have an input, that was the million dimension that he was talking about, and then the 3 letters is the center. This is called diffusion. So you have a good image, you add noise. And the idea is, can we do the opposite? Can we have a very noisy image and go back to the original? And can we do it by training? Because two computers, let's say two computers, one knows how the good image is, the other one doesn't know. He has to guess it. So if it does it right, it will be rewarded. And when it's rewarded, it's happy and it will do it again. So the next test will be there. You don't need to train it. You can do reinforcement learning, so you help it, but it's kind of autonomous. So here you can see in Midjourney some steps starting from a very low quality, blurry minimum size image and then is expanding. Here is the same thing. You have the same thing with some text. So if you ask for a pig waving a bow tie, that's the small image, and then it will enlarge it. That's why it's so good at upscaling. Because basically when you upscale, you add information. You don't just like we did before Zoom. It's not about Zoom. So now there are practical examples, even to understand how it could be used for an architect or a designer. I'm now doing something that wasn't possible last year. It's blending images. So it's not anymore text to image, it's two images. And again, you can understand how we are going deeply in the meaning of the two things. So it's not a morph, it's not based on pixels. I've used two images. One was a house in the wood, another one was completely different. And the mixing of the two is about features, is about meaning. It's not about, a kind of standard mix. This is an example of upscale. When you say this is the original image, and when you upscale it, it adds information knowing, let's say, that that's steel. So steels react to light in a certain way. And then if I want to change, it's called in paint. If I want to change something here, giving a text, so I will give a prompt, it will consider that specific part of the image, and it will be reconstructed with text-based things. So there's no human being there with a paintbrush. It's just doing it because it's very likely to be correct in some way. It has been rewarded. This is another example. I've done intentionally very bad starting point image. This is a bad 3D I've done, and I wanted to see if I could upscale it to a good quality, adding information. And the result is quite impressive. So I'm adding different layers. So the first one is starting from the original image to a better image and then upscaling it. And if you see, look at, for instance, the year. Here you have it's too quick, but there are an incredible amount of information that has been extrapolated by the logical idea that this shirt is probably a cotton shirt, or that ear would have had earrings. Another interesting example, this is my favorite software. So what I wanted to test is, can I use my viewport? So this is my original viewport. Feed it into real-time AI and see if I can work in real time and have like an immediate transfer from a very raw image to a very complex and good image, and it's impressive. So you can see now that's the superposition of the two things. So this is the row, and that one was the other one. Doing the same thing with something that is not common, because it's very easy to think about a car on the road, but it's less easy, but still it was good. When I'm adding weird things, it's in some way reacting weirdly, but that's what I wanted to test. And you can always decide the amount of the strength that AI will bring to the image. Again, another example, I wanted to get any picture and to start drawing on the picture to see if I could influence the outcome. So this is all real time. The speed probably is a little bit quicker because I needed it to be quicker for today, but that's the speed of it. So you have an image, you just sketch, and immediately there will be an update. So it could be shorter, it could be a different thing. Now I want to change the material. I just, put a yellow because it's meaningful that that orange or that yellow would mean. In that context, in that specific context, a gold or a bronze. And you can always, change the amount of AI in it. Another test is very bad sketch. So I'm sketching here on the left side very badly, and I'm seeing the result on the right. side. I think this is absolutely a game changer because I think it has never happened in the history of humans that you have a tool that has its own memory in some way. So you've got your intention. So this is my intention, but the outcome has its own intention, and in some way it could look back to me and influence me. This is what is happening. So I'm starting drawing flowers because I saw flowers there, and this is unheard. I mean, you could play a saxophone, it will react, but it will never put different notes that you have to play with a band to do that. So I'm kind of trying to sketch things. There will always be a text here saying that this is a blue ball. So it's a combination of text and pixels, which gives the right context. But you see again, when I add things, with the other eye, I'm looking on the right side, and you see that it's very, very, very precise in some way if you learn how to use it. And I remember just 1 year ago or 2 years ago when we were chatting about this, all the people were thinking about, but can you really drive it where you want to drive it? My answer was, you don't want to drive it, because otherwise, if it tells you what you already know, there's no point in using it. But, well, now you can really drive it. Because if you put, now I'm sketching here, I've just put a Japanese alley, and because it's dark and because what I'm drawing is red, he thought it was a red light. Now I'm adding just things, which is very likely to be like street signs. And I know that if I just will draw anything there, it will be interpreted as a writing. And because it's in Japan, that will be an ideogram. So this is what I'm doing, just sketching anything. And I know that at some point it will be interpreted as a sign. This is what happened. And in some way, this is what I wanted to happen. But then the amount of freedom that the tool has is still strong. And again, there's this loop, this circuit between your approach, your intention, your creativity, and the reaction of the tool that is not anymore transparent. So this is an error, sorry, shouldn't be here. But this is, again, another thing I've tested is video to video, real time, very promising, basically same thing. And I'm using this, and this is the result in real time. So, of course, there's a text behind that is saying, for instance, that is a wooden thing on the webcam. On the left side, you have a webcam. On the right side, you have already an interpretation, which is extremely quick. This is what we saw in Lancaster. You remember in Lancaster, the guy was using the system that was kind of this one. Probably
that's good.
Probably not as good, but yeah, that was the thing. And now, because I was in the webcam, so I've been turned into a wooden stadium just because I was there, and because the text there says the wooden stadium. And then if I change it to a Japanese man, I will be transformed into a Japanese, which some things are impressively coherent. I'm moving this, so it can be far from me or close to me. And now I'm trying to use some objects, like this is the phone, and that's a phone, in real time. And that phone has kind of a Japanese sign on it. I have this. And I couldn't resist. So, it's kind of impressive in terms of reaction. Again, glass. I wear glass, and there are glasses there. So I tried then to turn myself into a monkey and to see, or to a cartoon, and it works. But when you have things that are less probable in some way, something weird would happen. For instance, when I turn myself into a monkey, if I don't remember badly, then when I try to wear okay, I'm converting myself into a monkey there. And when I'm putting sunglasses or eyeglasses, then it disappears because it's not common anymore. That works. Probably there's a ban for bananas upon restriction, so they don't show bananas. But I guess, but if look, no bananas is clearly a banana, and it's a gorilla, but no bananas. Sorry. But that's basically it. So even the glasses are not there now because it's very unlikely that it would work. So I haven't summarized it in any way. It was very quick, 5, probably 6 minutes. I'm now open to questions, and I hope it was useful to understand also what is happening behind the trick. So numbers, patterns, clusters, vectors, yeah, tensors. That's it. I can unshare. Do you have any question? Please do so, because I think it's an exciting topic, and there's a lot of confusion on that. When I started investigating, it's not that easy because the world is like, again, split. There are creatives on one side and engineers on the other side, and it's very hard to find, good resources about this thing. So if you have any questions, do you have questions? Please.
It's
I will give you
phenomenal, isn't it? It changed everything.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, I mean, we've had several conversations, and you think this is happening now, but you don't think 1 year's time, 5 years time, 10 years time. It's almost like what they've done.
Actually, it's not happening now. So one of the things is I'm paying for it. So like standard people that they don't want to pay, they have chat GPT 3.5, which has been updated, I think the last time in 2022. If you pay, like you pay £10, then the update is December 2024. Yeah, 20, thank you. 2023, yeah. And now it's 2024, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, the 4. So you pay for it, and is the end of £20, and it has the lead and the number of tokens. It increases enormously. But if you are the director, the CEO of NVIDIA, which that was a part of the conference that happened last month. They meet yearly, and each year it was like a little bit like Steve Jobs presenting the iPhone, something like that. So they do the same thing, and when they present what they have in their hands, which is high-end, so we don't know that, we don't see that. You can really see, you can have a flavor of the future. So the simulation they have, for instance, in industries, when you see simulation of the people moving, they are absolutely incredible. And when you see the robots, for instance, humanoid robots, I think in Japan they struggled for probably 60 years to have something working very badly. And now it's completely changing because you don't have to code anything. That's why it's basically artificial intelligence, because by looking at us, they understand how to move. So it's difficult to probably teach someone how to walk. It's very easy to teach someone, to show someone how to. They will understand immediately. And so we've been coding, so we've been telling machines how to do things for all the history until probably 10 years ago, when we started saying, okay, now we give you the tools to understand reality. So we give you sensors, we give you eyes, we give you ears. We tell you how the brain is working, that's neural networks, and we give you all the experience that we have, because basically giving them trillions of tokens means you have all the information. And you still can get information from everyday, day-to-day life, cameras and things. They are still, increasing the amount of data. So we don't have such a collective memory. So if I know something, probably Julia, it's not given that you know what I know, and vice versa. But if we were machines, that would be much easier. So I could be trained on something that could be instantly transferred on you, and you could be trained on something that could instantly be transferred on me. So yes, what you say is the future is going to be reshaped very quickly because of that. There's a turning point, an incredible turning point.
The IT sector is at risk.
Sorry?
The IT sector is at risk because many of the tasks is now with the AI.
Yeah.
And it's like many just lost their jobs.
There are all kind of threats,
Yeah.
all kind of risks. I don't want to talk about it from an ethical perspective, because I think part of the problem with the ethical perspective is going against without knowing it.
Yeah.
So you know it because because of your job. You have to know how it works, also to fight against it, because there's a risk, there are potential risks, enormous risks in terms of social, in terms of everything. But the more you know, the better you react, or the better you say, okay, I will go on this countryside, just I don't care about it, I will grow tomatoes.
Do you think if it works the same way, in a similar way to how the brain works, can it create new knowledge?
Absolutely. Well, what's knowledge? Because one of the problem, in my opinion, is, I'm talking to a philosopher, because it's like we are now, it's a newborn. So I think you can take Plato, you can take Aristotle, you can take all of them and restart from scratch, because basically it's a brain. We say, most of the things we say are about human creativity, human knowledge, human feelings, human reaction. So if you use that human before, the answer would be no. Can they create human knowledge? No. Can they create knowledge? Yes. Is that knowledge interesting? For example, we are talking about the art field. There's an enormous, conversation about it. I think that we are interested in the human perception, the world as an art action. I wouldn't personally be interested in a song written by a machine, just because I think that the emotional feeling and connection is human. But maybe this could be reshaped. I have no idea.
No, but so brain are more powerful, but the way we are using just like 2%, we are not going in depth knowledge. The AI is using 100% of their capabilities. So like what they have got, they are using 100%, but we are not using 100%, so we cannot compare both.
That's true, but there are two things to add. First of all, our brain hasn't changed much in the last probably 1,000 of years, and that brain is now weaker, but is 4,000 times stronger than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are still in a good position, but we don't know for how long. And then I think that collective memory, that for instance, even mycelium apparently, they are very strong and they can do great things just because they are communities. So a single mushroom doesn't mean anything, but mycelium they do. And so you can be very, 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 very powerful with your mind. But in terms of community, we are individuals. And I think the idea that I'm training a robot here, that knowledge will be in China. And that I think that's kind of unbeatable. I don't know. My personal perception of it, I shouldn't say it, but I think it's like probably what we've done with the atomic bomb. there's a moment where we said, okay, it's very powerful.
Yeah, we've done it. Yeah, yeah.
Stop playing.
Yeah.
Stop playing. I think that's
Okay, so you are concerned about the.
no, not concerned. I mean, I think we are not prepared.
Yeah,
So
but that seems to be the general observation from tech companies that, like, Elon Musk, I know it's a bit like, but there seems to be a general concern about from all the tech companies that, oh my God, we're developing this tool, but we can see that it's frightening in terms of implications.
yeah, because you can't control it too much. You can do things like many things. For instance, all the GPT we have are extremely controlled by humans, like pre-trained and with reinforcement learning. So you can't. If I'm asking, how can I build a bomb to just kill my neighbor, even if he has the knowledge, he won't answer to me because there are restrictions that we put in terms of moral restrictions that are completely human.
Yeah.
But if there was not that, it would tell me probably, you know what? Well, you wait the right moment. You bring this. It's not that.
Retract this movement on Facebook. We know it's data.
Yeah, exactly.
Then no one can be tracked back to you. Or,
Able to do it, but it's
Isn't it
moral.
also that it depends how you ask the question, because if you would ask about how do I build a bomb to kill my neighbor, it would tell you not to kill your neighbor.
Correct.
But if you would ask how was the bomb built by someone who built the bomb in the 70s, it would probably tell you or give you resources of how it was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always a way to. But I mean, again, it's always the same thing. Not knowing how a bomb is made doesn't reduce the risk. So I think if you are, for instance, let's say a policeman, it's important that you know how a bomb is made to prevent it. Well, other questions? It's not that scary in any case, I think. It's not that scary. It's still for a few things.
I mean, it's obviously impossible to ignore this. It's oh, hey, oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
Frank, we were chatting. We are.
That's okay.
You created an AI.
It's an AI front here, yes, indeed. No, I just want to remind you that it is now
Absolutely.
1:15, so the half-an-hour slot has been filled with lots of thought and ideas. And please carry on with your discussions over into the other room. But I think I might just stop the recording now. Thank you everyone for coming. Yeah, I'll see you at the next lunchtime seminar.